Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the newsandnews.com Day in Brief on April 8th at about 6:30 p.m. President Trump has fired the director of the Secret Service in what is the second departure of a top Homeland Security official in less than 24 hours. CNN reports that a senior administration official described a, quote, near systematic purge happening at the nation's largest national security agency. Yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was pushed out, and two other top officials are expected to be fired. Trump had already pulled his nominee to head ICE last week. The moves are motivated by a push for tougher immigration policies. But no matter where you stand on the border crisis, you've got to be concerned about politics dictating moves at the department that is in charge of keeping this country safe. Multiple reports indicate that yesterday's ouster of Secretary Nielsen was orchestrated by White House aide Stephen Miller, a hardliner who has reportedly been put in charge of all immigration and border affairs. CNN is also quoting an official as saying Nielsen thinks Trump is, quote, increasingly unhinged about the border crisis. She has disagreed with Trump's increasingly aggressive calls for action on immigration, including recent suggestions that the U.S. break with international norms by turning away asylum seekers. However, she controversially defended the administration's policy to separate migrant children from their families. Trump reportedly ordered Nielsen and Secretary of State Pompeo to close the border crossing at El Paso within 24 hours 2 weeks ago. CNN reports that one person at the meeting described Trump as, quote, ranting and raving, saying border security was his issue. When Nielsen tried to explain that the move would hurt trade, Trump allegedly said, I don't care. He was apparently talked out of the move by White House Chief of Staff Mulvaney. Federal prosecutors have charged a Maryland man who was allegedly planning to ram a stolen U-Haul truck into as many pedestrians as possible at a popular tourist destination just outside Washington, D.C. The man allegedly told authorities he harbored hatred for disbelievers in Islam. He initially tried to breach security at Dulles Airport before settling on National Harbor, a complex of restaurants, retail shops, and hotels along the Potomac River. He was arrested when police saw him jump a security fence near where he had parked the truck. The U.S. has designated Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a foreign terrorist organization. It's the first time the U.S. has given that designation to an entity of another country's government. The paramilitary force answers only to Iran's supreme leader and reportedly controls as much as half of the country's economy. Pompeo accused the Revolutionary Guard of a long list of terrorist acts, saying the move is meant to increase pressure on Iran and isolate it further. U.S. military commanders are warning troops in the Middle East of the possibility of retaliation. Felicity Huffman is among 13 wealthy parents and one coach who, according to federal prosecutors, will plead guilty to using bribery and other forms of fraud in the college admissions scandal. Others have already pleaded guilty, but actress Lori Loughlin is not one of them. Huffman issued a statement saying she was ashamed and in full acceptance of her guilt. Also today, Stanford University announced it has expelled an unidentified student who had falsified information on his or her college application and was connected to the nationwide fraud scheme. New York State Democrats are trying to work around the White House to obtain Trump's tax returns by introducing a bill that would allow the release of state tax returns to congressional committees. The state returns would include most of the information on a federal return. I'd like to see Trump's taxes as much as the next guy, but politicizing taxes is a singularly bad idea. New York lawmakers should consider the precedent they would set, the Pandora's box they'd open, and how weaponizing our fiscal authorities could change our whole system. Yesterday, Mulvaney said that Democrats pushing for the release of Trump's tax returns in Congress would never see them, appearing to harden the Trump administration's position on the issue. Trump has repeatedly said he would consider releasing them if he weren't under audit. Mulvaney said voters had decided the issue when they elected Trump, despite his break with the tradition of candidates releasing their tax returns. After being abducted at gunpoint while on safari in a popular Ugandan national park last week, Kimberly Sue Endicott of California is now free. It's not clear whether she was rescued by the country's security forces on Sunday or whether she was released after ransom was paid. Endicott had traveled to Uganda's popular Queen Elizabeth National Park to see the gorillas there. Today, Trump tweeted that, quote, Uganda must find the kidnappers and bring them to justice openly and quickly. 68 teams started in the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, but tonight we're down to the final two, Virginia and Texas Tech. The game begins at 9:20, and whichever team triumphs, it will be the first ever championship for the school. Baylor, the number 1 overall seed in this year's NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament, claimed victory this weekend, edging out Notre Dame. Baylor is just the 3rd Division I team to take home the trophy 3 times. Keith Urban took home the big prize at the 54th Academy of Country Music Awards Sunday night. Urban was crowned Entertainer of the Year, winning in a field that included Chris Stapleton and Jason Aldean, who was honored as Artist of the Decade. Grammy winner Casey Musgraves won Female Artist of the Year, ending Miranda Lambert's 9-year reign. Thomas Rhett took the Male Artist prize. Reba McEntire had said the show would avoid U.S. politics, but she made herself heard about country music politics, slamming the fact that all 5 nominees for Entertainer of the Year were men. We have all those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week at newsandnews.com, where you will find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV. I'll see you again tomorrow.